Talk Ava. Learn English with confidence.
I said something yesterday that felt slightly off, and I could not ignore it. I was talking casually, and I said, I was watching a bird outside my window. After I said it, I paused for a second. It was not wrong, but something about it did not sound natural to me.
That kind of pause usually means your instinct is reacting. Let's look at what actually happened. Were you focused on the bird for some time, or did you just notice it quickly and move on?
It was a very quick moment. I was working, I glanced outside, and I noticed the bird. I did not stay there or follow it.
That detail matters. When you hear the word watch, it usually carries the idea of attention over a period of time. In your case, the experience sounds shorter and less focused.
So the problem is not grammar, it is the choice of word for that situation.
Yes, that is where most confusion comes from. Let's compare two simple versions. I saw a bird and I watched a bird. When you hear them, do they feel the same?
Not really. I saw a bird feels quick and natural for that moment. I watched a bird feels like I stayed there and paid attention.
That difference is subtle but important. You're not just choosing a word, you're describing how the action happened.
This is where I start to feel unsure. Both sentences are correct, but only one fits naturally. In real conversation, I do not always have time to think like this.
That's why we aren't building rules, we're building awareness. Once you notice these patterns a few times, your brain starts choosing faster without thinking step by step.
Let me try to adjust my sentence. Instead of I was watching a bird, I could say I saw a bird outside my window. That feels closer to what actually happened.
That fits better because it matches the experience. Now, let's bring another word into this. If you say, look at that bird, what are you asking someone to do?
I'm asking them to direct their eyes toward the bird.
Now compare that with, do you see that bird? What changes in meaning there?
That feels more like I'm checking if they notice it. I'm not telling them to look, I'm asking if they already see it.
That's a useful distinction. One is about directing attention, and the other is about noticing something that's already there.
So even though the object is the same, the action behind the word changes.
Yes, and that's why your original sentence felt slightly off. The word did not match how the action happened.
I want to test something. If I say, I looked at a bird, does that fix the problem?
It depends on what you did. If you made a small effort to direct your eyes toward it, then looked works. If the bird just appeared and you noticed it without effort, saw is still a better fit.
So there are small differences between all three, and each one depends on how the action happens.
That is right. Now think about this situation. You sit for 2 hours and follow a movie carefully. Which sentence sounds natural? I watched a movie or I saw a movie?
I watched a movie sounds more natural because it includes time and attention.
Now change the situation. You are walking and you notice something for 1 second. Which one fits better? I saw something or I watched something?
I saw something fits better for that kind of quick moment.
So without using any formal explanation, you are already adjusting your choice based on the situation.
Yes, but I still feel a bit uncertain. Sometimes both options sound possible, and I do not know which one to choose.
That's a good point. Let's look at a case where both can work but feel different. If you say, I saw people in the park, what does that suggest?
It sounds like I noticed them while passing by. It feels general.
Now change it slightly. I watched people in the park. What changes?
That feels like I stayed there and observed them for some time. It feels more intentional.
So both sentences are possible, but they don't create the same image.
Yes, and that difference is what makes it confusing. I understand both, but choosing between them is not always easy.
That's where your instinct needs more practice. Let me ask you something directly. Which one feels more natural? I looked a movie last night or I watched a movie last night?
I watched a movie last night feels correct immediately. The other one sounds incomplete.
Now notice how you answered. You didn't analyze it, you just felt which one works.
That's true, but I don't always trust that feeling yet.
That's normal. Your instinct becomes stronger when you see these patterns again and again in real situations.
I'm starting to notice something. Earlier, I was only thinking about meaning. Now I'm thinking about how the action happens, whether it's quick, intentional, or longer.
That's the first real shift. You're not just matching words with meanings anymore, you're matching words with experiences.
That makes the whole thing clearer. It also explains why my first sentence felt off. I used a word that didn't match how the moment actually happened.
And that awareness is what will help you improve. As we move forward, you will see situations where the difference becomes even subtler.
I think I'm starting to understand the basic difference, but when I try to apply it in different situations, it becomes less clear again. The words feel simple, but the moment I change the situation, my choice becomes uncertain.
That is where things get interesting. Let's take one simple idea and move it across different situations. Try this sentence. I saw him. What does that mean to you in a normal situation?
It means I noticed him. Maybe I passed by him or he appeared in front of me for a moment.
Now imagine a different situation. You are standing in one place and you keep observing him for several minutes. Would I saw him still feel like the best choice?
Not really. It starts to feel too short for that situation. It does not carry the idea of staying there and observing.
So what would you say instead?
I was watching him feels more suitable because it includes time and attention.
Good. Now notice what changed. The person is the same, but the duration of the action changed, and that changed the word.
So even when the sentence looks simple, the time behind it affects the choice.
Exactly. Now let's push it a bit further. If you say, I saw him for 5 minutes, how does that sound?
It sounds strange. The time does not match the word. Saw feels too quick for 5 minutes.
That mismatch is important. Some words carry a short moment and others can carry longer attention. When you mix them incorrectly, the sentence feels unnatural.
So the word is not only about meaning, it also carries a sense of time.
Yes, and this is where many learners get confused. They focus only on the object and ignore how long the action lasts.
Let me try another one. If I say I watched him for a second, it also feels slightly off because watch feels longer than 1 second.
That is a good observation. The word and the time need to support each other. When they do not match, the sentence feels unusual.
This makes me realize that I was not thinking about time at all before. I was just thinking about the word itself.
And that is why the confusion happens. Now you are adding another layer. You are thinking about duration as part of the meaning.
So now I have 2 things to think about, whether I am actively focusing and how long the action lasts.
Yes, and we are going to add one more layer now. This is where most learners get it wrong.
That sounds serious. What's the next layer?
It is not only about time or attention. Sometimes the same sentence can change meaning based on intention, even if the situation looks similar.
So even if 2 situations look the same, the word can change because of intention?
Yes, let's test this. I will give you a few situations, and you tell me what feels natural. Do not overthink it.
I will try.
You are sitting in a cinema fully focused for 2 hours. Which sounds better? I saw a movie or I watched a movie?
I watched a movie fits better because of the time and attention.
Now change the situation slightly. You enter a room and a movie is already playing on the screen. You notice it for a few seconds before leaving. Which one feels better now?
I saw a movie feels better for that short moment.
Good. Now here is a more difficult one. You are sitting in a park and you notice people walking around. You stay there for some time, but you're not fully focused on them. Which sounds better? I saw people walking around or I watched people walking around?
Both sound possible, but they feel different. Saw feels general and watched feels more intentional.
That is the key. Both can be correct, but the intention changes the feeling of the sentence.
So even when the time is similar, the level of attention changes the word.
Yes, and that's where many learners hesitate. They look for one correct answer, but sometimes the choice depends on what you want to express.
This is more complex than I expected. It's not just right or wrong, it's about what you mean to show.
Exactly. Now let's make it slightly more challenging. Which one sounds natural? I am seeing TV right now, or I am watching TV right now?
I am watching TV right now sounds natural. The other one feels wrong immediately.
Now try this. I am looking at the TV right now.
That sounds correct, but it feels different. It sounds like I'm just directing my eyes at it, not following the content.
That difference is important. The object is the same, but the intention changes the word.
So if I say watch, I'm following what is happening. If I say look, I'm just directing my eyes. And if I say see, I'm noticing without effort.
That's a useful way to think about it, but remember, it's not always fixed. There are situations where two options can work and the difference becomes subtle.
That's where I need more practice. Sometimes I can feel the difference and sometimes I cannot.
That's normal. Let me give you one more situation to think about. Imagine someone says, "Watch what he does next." What does watch mean there?
It means to pay attention carefully to what will happen.
Now, if someone says, see what he does next, what changes?
That feels slightly different. It feels more like noticing the result, not focusing on the process.
That is a deeper layer. The word can also change how you experience the action, not just what you see.
So the more I think about it, the more I realize that these words are not simple replacements. They carry different types of experience.
That is the realization you need. Once you start thinking in terms of experience, duration, and intention, your choices become more natural.
I can feel that shift happening, but I also see that there are many small differences I did not notice before.
And that is where the real learning begins.
I feel like I understand more now, but I also notice something strange. Sometimes a sentence is technically correct, but the moment I hear it, it feels completely wrong. I cannot always explain why.
That is the point where learning becomes deeper. Let's look at a sentence like that. Listen carefully. I was seeing a movie last night.
That sounds wrong immediately. I would not say that at all.
But think about it for a moment. The word see can be connected to movies, so why does the sentence feel unnatural?
That's exactly what confuses me. The meaning is clear, but the sentence still doesn't sound right.
This is an important moment. A sentence can be grammatically correct and still not match how people actually speak. That difference is what makes it feel wrong.
So correctness is not enough. I also need to know what sounds natural in real usage.
Yes, and that comes from noticing patterns, not just understanding definitions. Let's compare two sentences. I saw a movie last night and I watched a movie last night. How do they feel to you?
Both sound fine, but they feel slightly different. Saw feels more general, like I'm just saying it happened. Watched feels more focused on the experience.
That is a good distinction. Now try this. I'm seeing TV right now. What do you think?
That feels wrong again. I would say I'm watching TV.
And that's because certain combinations become natural over time. People don't always follow logic, they follow usage.
So even if I understand the meaning, I can still choose something that sounds unnatural.
Yes, let me give you a simple way to remember this. Being correct is not the same as sounding natural.
That is a strong point. It changes how I think about learning English.
Now, let's move into a more natural situation and see how these words behave. Imagine you are at home, sitting in your living room. You say, I am looking TV right now. How does that sound?
That sounds wrong. It feels incomplete. It should be, I am watching TV.
Now, change it slightly. I am looking at the TV right now.
That sounds correct, but it feels different. It sounds like I am just directing my eyes at it, not following what is happening.
That contrast is important. The object is the same, but the experience changes.
Let me try another one. If I say, I saw him talking to someone, that feels natural. It sounds like I noticed it.
Now, change it. I watched him talking to someone.
That feels like I stayed there and observed the whole situation for some time.
Yes, and now try this. I looked him talking to someone.
That does not work at all. It feels incomplete and unnatural.
So, even though all three words are related, they do not fit in the same structure.
I'm starting to see a pattern. It's not only about meaning, it's about how the word fits into the situation and the structure.
Exactly. Now, let's take a slightly different situation. Imagine you were in a meeting and someone says, "Look at this chart." What are they asking you to do?
They are asking me to direct my eyes to the chart.
Now, if someone says, "Do you see the problem in this chart?" what changes?
That feels different. It's not about looking anymore. It's about understanding something inside the chart.
That shift from physical action to mental meaning is another layer.
So these words can also move from physical meaning to mental meaning.
Yes, and that is why simple translation doesn't always work. You need to observe how the word behaves in different contexts.
I also notice that when I try to speak quickly, I sometimes choose the wrong word without realizing it.
That is part of the process. Your instinct is still developing. The more you notice these differences, the more natural your choices will become.
Let me test something. If I say, I am seeing him right now, does that sound correct?
It depends on the meaning. If you mean meeting him regularly, it can work. But if you mean you are looking at him in this moment, it doesn't fit.
So the same word can work in one situation and feel wrong in another.
Yes, and that's why context matters so much. You can't rely only on meaning. You need to look at how the word is used in real situations.
This is starting to feel more like observing patterns than learning rules.
That is exactly what it is. You are training your awareness. The more examples you see, the clearer these patterns become.
I can feel that happening slowly. I still make mistakes, but now I notice them more clearly.
And that awareness is what leads to improvement. You are not just learning words, you are learning how they behave.
I've been thinking about everything we discussed, and something is changing in how I approach these words. Earlier, I was trying to match words with meanings, but now it feels like I'm paying more attention to how the situation unfolds. It's not just about what I see, but how I experience it.
That shift is important. You are moving from memorizing meanings to noticing patterns in real situations. Let me put it in a clearer way. These words are not only about what your eyes do. They reflect how your attention moves, what your intention is, and how long you stay with something.
So it's not just one factor, it's a combination of attention, intention, and duration.
Yes, and when those three align, the sentence feels natural. When they don't, the sentence feels slightly off, even if it is correct.
That explains my first sentence. I said I was watching a bird, but my attention was brief, my intention was not strong, and the moment was short, so the word didn't match the experience.
That's a clear connection. Now here is something to think about. You're not choosing between similar words, you're choosing how you want to represent the experience.
That changes the way I think completely. It feels less like picking a word and more like describing a moment accurately.
That is the idea. Let me give you a strong way to remember this. You are not choosing a word, you're choosing how you stayed with the moment.
That line makes it much clearer. It explains why see, look, and watch cannot always replace each other.
Yes, because each one carries a different type of experience. See often happens without effort, look involves a small decision to direct your eyes, and watch involves staying with something for some time.
And intention plays a role as well. Even if the time is short, if I decide to focus, I might choose to look instead of see.
Exactly. Now you're combining all three layers. Attention, intention, and duration are working together.
Let me test this understanding with a few examples. If I say, I saw someone at the door, it means I noticed them quickly. If I say I looked at someone at the door, it means I directed my eyes toward them. And if I say I was watching someone at the door, it means I stayed there and observed them for some time.
That distinction is accurate. Notice how your explanation is based on the situation, not on a rule.
Yes, but I still feel a slight pause when I try to choose the word. It's better than before, but not completely natural yet.
That pause is part of the process. Your instinct is adjusting. With more exposure, that hesitation will become shorter.
Let me try another one. If I say I am watching TV, that feels natural. If I say I am seeing TV, it feels wrong. Even though I understand why, I still need a moment to confirm it.
That is normal. What matters is that you now notice the difference and can correct yourself.
I also notice that I am paying more attention when I listen to others. I can hear when someone uses these words naturally.
That awareness is what improves your speaking. You observe, you compare, and slowly your choices become automatic.
So instead of thinking about rules, I should focus on how the situation feels and how long I stay with it.
Yes, and that approach will help you with many other parts of English as well.
I want to try one more situation. If I say, I saw him playing football, it sounds like I noticed him. If I say, I watched him playing football, it sounds like I stayed there and followed the game for some time. That difference feels clearer now.
That is a good example. You are now using the words to match the experience, not just the meaning.
I feel more confident, but I also know I will still make mistakes sometimes.
That is expected. Improvement is not about being perfect. It's about noticing and adjusting.
I think the biggest change for me is that I'm no longer trying to force a rule. I'm trying to understand the moment and choose the word based on that.
That is the right approach. Over time, this way of thinking becomes natural.
So if I go back to my original sentence, I would now say, I saw a bird outside my window, and that feels more accurate.
Yes, because now the word matches the experience.
And if I stayed there and followed the bird for some time, then I could say I was watching a bird.
That is correct. You are adjusting based on what actually happened.
I still feel a small hesitation, but it's much less than before.
That hesitation will continue to reduce as you practice and notice more examples.
I think this kind of conversation helps more than just memorizing definitions. It makes the difference clearer.
If this way of learning helps you notice English more clearly, you can keep coming back to similar conversations. There are many small differences like this that can change how natural your English sounds.